Good afternoon. I'm Sri Murthy, Director of Solution Consulting for the U.S. Army at ServiceNow. I'm honored to be joined by two distinguished leaders I've had the pleasure of working with. The leaders of consequence, change agents, and who lead with purpose. As you know, the U.S. Army is one of the largest organizations in terms of scale and complexity. Our panelists will share today their experiences in driving transformation across both mission and IT. They've set the benchmark when it comes to driving efficiencies and improving the experience for warfighters. I'd like to turn it over to Doug and Nathan to introduce themselves.
Hello, thanks, Sri. I'm Nathan Ford with U.S. Army Cyber Command. I'm the lead for Enterprise Service Management to include the Army Enterprise Service Management Platform, which is really the enterprise IT service management solution for the Army.
Doug Enfield. I work for Installation Management Command within the G4. I am the Public Works Systems Branch Chief, so all of the public works on Army garrisons throughout the world, we manage the systems and the data on those garrisons.
Fantastic. So Nathan, let me start off with you. The U.S. Army has taken steps to automate inventory and improve asset management in recent years. Can you describe the status of these efforts and how you're driving efficiencies?
Sure. We're kind of in a crawl, walk, run stage, and so we've been crawling, and every now and then we can pull ourselves up and look around and see the environment for the first time, which is really exciting times. It's the first time the Army's had a asset management solution for IT assets at the enterprise level. So we're developing new processes, new practices today. We're trying to teach folks in the field how to leverage the new capabilities we're putting in their hands, and we're still trying to find what's remaining out there for the asset population, bring those things in, actually produce the first viable configuration management database for the Army.
So it's incredible what you've gone through, right? Disparate systems, point solutions, spreadsheets, to trying to standardize your asset management to provide enterprise level visibility. So I think the journey you've taken on is remarkable, and we hope that there's more success to come. Doug, I'm going to turn it over to you. ARMA's been through an evolution. Can you walk us through the genesis of ARMA? You just completed the fourth year of ARMA, and where you are, the current status, and then more importantly, how are you driving efficiencies?
Yeah, we just celebrated our fourth birthday of ArmyMaintenance.com, or as we call it, ARMA. 4 years ago, the AMC Commanding General on the behest of Congress was asked to create a digital communication between everyone who lives and works on an Army installation and the DPW, the Directorate of Public Works, to be able to do maintenance for that. So anybody that's there could submit a maintenance request. They do that on the ServiceNow platform using CSM, and we receive that at their local public works. And so we're able to do those maintenance requests a lot faster and a lot more efficiently, as well as have a communication. Before we had 4 years ago, when you rolled onto an Army installation, it was like, how do I get this fixed? And everybody would shrug their shoulders. We decided to partner with ServiceNow, and with our implementation partner with SoftTac Solutions. The contract was signed on August 10th, 2020. We were up and live and running on every Army installation on 1 December, which was just a phenomenal way. And we now have every maintenance request for DPW comes through our system.
And I know you've rolled out FSM recently. It's been a year since you rolled out FSM across two sites at Fort Campbell and in Germany, Bavaria, right? Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about you mentioned in our prep discussions, it took you from 33 days to roughly 4 days. So the savings have been tremendous, right?
So yeah, before we had ServiceNow, before we had ArmyMaintenance.com, and we were receiving those requests digitally, the average length of completion for a work order done by Public Works was about 28 days. And now with that digital communication, with pictures, with our technicians being able to converse via the platform to get things done, we are now seeing that at about 14 days. So we're seeing our time to task and completion rate go way, way down. And That has not necessarily led to efficiencies and cost savings, but the amount of work that we're able to get done, it's what we call a force multiplier, without a doubt.
Awesome. Let's pivot to the next question. So Doug, I'll start with you. How are intelligent tools and platforms creating greater transparency for Army leadership and improving mission resiliency?
In 2023, we rolled out something we call the Dashboard for All, which is for all Army customers. Anybody who logs in with their smart card onto the Army network can go to armymaintenance.com and get a report of any maintenance happening at any building anywhere in the Army or group of buildings or per unit that has submitted the work orders. And so we're able to provide transparency of the maintenance being done on the installation to every echelon of Army leadership, from general officers all the way down to squad leaders at the unit level.
Nathan, I'll pose the same question to you.
Sure.
From a transparency perspective, have you gained any efficiency or transparency for leadership?
Yeah, transparency is obviously a hot topic at the moment across the government, but it's as we've moved into AES&P, what we did was we united what were theater-based service management solutions into one unified cloud-based SaaS solution with ServiceNow. So we brought all of that together, and for the first time, we can actually look across the Army and look at metrics for performance. We can look at mean time to resolution. These are dashboards that we can put up and visualize the data for leadership. And now we have general officers out there in our dashboards going through and looking at who's within the mean of service, our SLAs and things like that, and who's outside. And we're starting to drive into where our performance issues are, where lack of resources might be a problem. And it's information we've just never been able to visualize this way before. So it's kind of exciting times for us, and we're looking forward to completing the asset management rollout and being able to apply the same type of visibility and transparency to our asset population as well.
So let me pivot to holistic asset management. In the military context, how does asset management fueled by cloud-based platforms and smart workflows enable the armed forces to gain visibility into IT and other assets? In what ways has this enabled the mission?
Well, it allows us to be a lot more proactive in how we're deploying equipment, how we're ensuring that the effectiveness, the utilization of equipment as we go out. Instead of waiting for things to come in with a break fix, an instant issue or something like that, then we're starting to get to a point where we can actually manage the life cycle proactively, which, because we didn't have that visibility across the enterprise prior, it's opening up a lot of possibilities for us to get after that, to pull in the warranty information, the financial information, all of those things, pull them together and just ensure that we're rolling out effective systems, effective hardware and things like that as we go forward.
I mean, it's got to help you with compliance as well, right? Improving your cyber posture, knowing what's in your network, and then how to proactively remediate, security incidents. So it's probably vast benefits you've realized from standardizing your IT asset management process.
Yes, and then the previous question was about the transparency and everything. So the visibility, we realized that we were trying to solve the same problem sets as the financial guys, the IT management, the cybersecurity. It was all about visibility of the network. What's out there. You can't manage what you can't see. You can't defend what you can't see. And you can't do the financial auditing on what you can't see either. So we're solving all those problems here, kind of in one set, and providing that visibility to all the different cohorts of folks that need that information. So it's kind of game changing.
So Doug, let's pivot to automation. So what are the roles of automation and predictive analytics in driving enterprise-wide transformation? Additionally, what role do you see AI playing within your organization?
Well, from an automation perspective, having a single system, as Nathan mentioned, in the cloud that's available to every Army installation, every Army service member, dependent, Army customer everywhere in the world at all times. That cloud service really allows us to do an enterprise system. If it were on-premise somewhere, that wouldn't be possible. So that really has been able to drive the standardization of receiving maintenance requests and responding to them in a timely way. We were talking earlier about what that meant as we had Hurricane Helene come through a couple of our installations, and we were able to capture those maintenance requests and the things that were down and outages that occurred on those installations because we had a cloud-based system, right? It wasn't on-premise in a network center on the post. It was something that was available worldwide. So it really allowed us to capture in the moment of the hurricane those things that were broken and down. As far as AI, it's really interesting. We're using analytical AI within ArmyMaintenance.com. We use it within our survey results. So we do about 125,000 cases a month across the Army that we receive from our customers. And as those get closed out, every one of them gets a survey. How did we do? How did our public works do? Our response rate's about 6%. So we're getting about 7,000 or 8,000 responses a month. And we want to know, what are the real problems? Who are the people who are really screaming at us, really upset with us? So we can address those right up front. And AI and our language model that we use for that allows us to identify and respond to those really difficult comments right away.
Yeah, you've truly gone digital and taken the power of the platform and using the surveys and insights to inform your Army leadership, and also having the pulse of the customer. That's just remarkable. Nate, I'm going to ask you about the roles of automation. Talk about from an AESB perspective and asset perspective.
Yeah, and we're using some of the same pieces, and it's really, for us, it's the ability to push information to the agents right now. It's the ability to push information to the users, whether that's knowledge articles, those types of things. The virtual agent, we've got a number of use cases where the virtual agent can resolve an issue for a user, and we're really just getting started on that front. So really getting into generative AI and the next steps. We're not there yet, but we're already finding great uses for the native AI that's in the program. And where I'm really looking forward to some help is we do with the visualizations and everything, we can dashboard, we go look to kind of manage by exception, and we look for the things that are the outliers. But I'm looking forward to a point where through AI, it can push that information to me as a manager, and I'm not having to go look for it. It's going to let me know what the anomalies are, and we can, that to me would be a big leap forward, let alone all the other use cases that we're learning about here today.
Yeah, I would say, in addition to what you mentioned, right, letting the AI do its work to identify bottlenecks in the system, routing tickets and cases makes you much more efficient from an operational perspective. So next question, in what ways have you been able to support strategic decision-making and operational planning beyond efficiencies and transparencies? Doug, start with you.
The big thing for us is, where do we put our ever-reducing maintenance dollars? Like, how do we know those things that we need to address first? Where does our infrastructure need to have the most attention? And so being able to see the maintenance data in real time, where things are breaking down, where problems are being reported, or what users are having the most issues within the maintenance world, allows strategic decision-making as far as what we go to fix. And hopefully with AI and some of those tools, will end up as predictive maintenance, right? We'll be able to see those things that have been failing in the past and where in the life cycle they have failed, so that we can address it before we even get there. That's really the goal. So that as we're planning what the installation of the future looks like for the Army, we've got good maintenance data directly from our customers, executed by our technicians, to be able to make those decisions.
I know in our discussions, you mentioned that the technicians now have to just make one visit, right? Versus multiple visits that happened in the past, right? It's going to help you improve operations in your DPW as well, right? I'm sure there's benefits that you realized because of those less frequent visits, driving more efficiencies.
Yeah, especially where we have implemented field service management, we are seeing where the technicians have a mobile device. They have pictures a lot of times from the customer of the problem that they're having, and they're able to communicate directly with the customer via the platform. They're able to go out on site, have the materials they need, the resources they need to fix it the very first time they visit. We've reduced from about 2.1 visits previous to having ServiceNow to now we're about 1.4 visits that we see in there that they need to actually fix the problem, which is a big part of that reduction in the time to task to complete these problems.
And then from a planning perspective, maintaining stock level inventory, having that insight with, hey, based on these type of incidents, if it's during the winter, it's HVAC problems, you can better, put your resources to work and plan ahead. So that's something that you've realized from an asset management perspective.
Yeah, using the enterprise asset management, the EAM tools, we hope to see trend analysis of where our problems are occurring to pre-position materials that are needed during different times of the season or when we know things are going to break down and those materials are needed.
So Nathan, obviously AESMP is a remarkable standardization of IT, asset visibility and transparency. How has this helped, in providing strategic planning for your leadership?
It's insight into what's actually happened in IT and cyber operations that we really didn't have that data before. So being able to look through, where the resources are allocated, the demand for services, all of that, is valuable data that we couldn't provide to leadership. We were making guesses at a lot of things. There was a lot of, spreadsheeting of, how time and resources are being used and what services were being delivered, sometimes just tick marks in an Excel sheet type things. And so just opening that world up to be able to really see what's going on, ticket counts, and that's just the simplified version, really getting the meat of the data behind, well, is this what the customer asked for this? What did the customer end up actually receiving? That was just unheard of a short time ago. So just we've opened up so much, and we just stood up in 2023. So turning this on, it's been a fire hose of data that we didn't have before, and that's all filtering up to leadership. We're still trying to learn how to deal with all that great information right now.
As a customer of AESMP, which I have to use to put in my own IT requests in Nathan's system, and just used it for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure the government audience will all understand my computer was set to be quarantined. And so I had to put in that ticket, and public works tickets, what used to be IT tickets, used to be post and pray, right? You would put it out there and you would hope somebody would respond at some point. I was able to interact with the technician, get updates. I know when it went from new to opened and the work that had been done on it. It was, as a customer, it was very transparent to me, the work they were doing.
And I assume that's got to have been a delightful experience for your technicians who don't have to expend the time on IT, but then just going back to doing productive work to support the Army barracks, right?
Yeah, nobody likes spending time tracking people down to get simple answers. To be able to do it through the platform, be able to look at tickets that previously existed for that piece of real property, you could see a problem reoccurring and not have to get an answer. So there are tools that we had that we didn't have before standing this up that make time to task so much shorter.
Thank you for sharing that story, Doug. This is just a great example of ServiceNow breaking down silos across every corner of the enterprise and driving transformation. The last question, both Army housing expanded from just housing to fence, and Nathan, you leading the IT standardization across the Army enterprise. What lessons, key lessons do you have today to share with our audience? And secondarily, how did you get leadership support early on?
So the second question answers the first, right? We had congressional support. We had 4-star leadership, and getting those key players at the very top in order to make organizational change throughout was definitely the key part of it. But finding in the platform some early wins, not only for our customers, but for our leadership. And for us, that was pictures. We had never gained pictures before or files of public works maintenance requests. And a lot of times you get a maintenance request and it says toilet is broke. That's all you get. But if we get a picture of that said toilet, we now know the piece of equipment that it is and the type of fittings it has and all of those kind of things. So we really jumped on those pictures to use those as leverage to share at every level to say, hey, we're able to do this a lot faster and provide value with the system.
I'm gonna have to ask my guys if pictures would help. We haven't, broached that subject. Yeah, keyboard broke. No.
Nathan, how about you? What valuable lessons did you?
Well, I mean, the scope and scale. I mean, we combined what was six separate unclassified and 6 separate classified service management solutions into one classified, one unclassified. And so and most of the work's on unclassified. So bringing that all together for the first time was enormous. We've got about 1.2 million end users across the Army. The ticket volume on a daily basis is in the thousands. And then, we're running, I think, just our service desk. And then we've got all the tier 2, tier 3, and other tickets that come through. But just our service desks handling 1.3 to 1.5 million tickets a year. So it's a pretty steady volume. The scale of all of that and trying to bring all of the organizations in the Army together under one standard for the first time was rather daunting. And, so we had to set some ground rules. We're going to try to be as out of the box as possible. We might have some trade-offs with some of the capabilities that someone wants. You might have to wait a little longer for that until we can get it to an enterprise solution. But we've been able to standardize quickly, roll it out a lot more quickly, move a lot faster because of the standardization. And we had leadership support early on. We stood up a senior executive steering committee, and we had from the contracting command, from our cyber, from NetCom, from the PEO, the seniors involved early on and how we were going to shape the project and what it was going to be, what the program would be in state. So, that's waned a little bit over time, but that definitely helped us get the funding in place, get the troops on the ground moving, and we've continued to roll forward in that respect. But it's as far as lessons learned, it's just you can't really underestimate the scale of trying to get that many people working on the same project and agreeing to the same sets of standards. So the leadership involvement and the governance is critical. And I won't say that we've got the best governance, but we've known that that's a problem. We've tried to address it where we can. So I know, probably preaching to the choir with a federal audience of how disjointed sometimes government agencies can be, but this is a big starting point to get everybody on a single standard. That visibility across the workload across the entire IT workforce for the Army is like game changing. I mean, it's a whole new day with what we can see and do now.
It's certainly a game changer. Sorry, Doug.
Just one thing, because Nathan mentioned it, getting partners involved, especially if you have digital connections to systems of record. We got involved with PEO EIS and Army Financial Management Command to connect to GFIBs, to the SAP instance that we interact with. And from the very beginning, we partnered with them, and that has been very, very critical to our success, is getting with them early.
Well, the outcomes you've driven for the Army enterprise has been game-changing, right? To use your own words, Nathan. It's remarkable. You digitally transform the Army, ultimately improving the experience for the warfighter. It's all about the warfighter experience. So thank you for sharing valuable insights and for being a great partner. We're truly inspired by your vision and leadership. And please give them a round of applause.